Allie Hartman. I will be your host for this evening, and it's so good to see a mix of familiar and new faces. Raise your hand if this is your first City Nerd Night. Hey, we love that. Welcome. So glad to have you. And I'll tell you, it's been a few months since we've been here at King Street for this program, but we typically host it about quarterly, and we use King Street as our home base because the Anchorage Assembly, the municipality, we love supporting local businesses, and we take every opportunity we can. So while we're here tonight, please do enjoy the food and beverage of our wonderful hosts here at King Street. Since we were here last, they installed this whole counter area, which is so cool. And they also set up a point of sale system that gives you a buzzer. So if you order food, you'll get a buzzer. You'll hear it, it'll buzz, as a buzzer does. And then you'll very politely get up and walk out these doors, head downstairs to the second floor to pick up your food. Today we are going to hear from 7 Anchorage locals talking about the theme of the night. They'll indulge us in a series of 7-minute presentations. We like the number 7. And after those 7 presentations, we'll take a quick break where you'll have an opportunity to grab some more food, order some more, use the restroom. We'll come back for a Q&A with all 7 locals. So at the tables all around the room, you'll find note cards, you'll find pens, and when you think of that burning question for the presenter, go ahead and write it down. And my colleagues, Jennifer and Claire, will spend some time in between presentations picking those up, so you'll see Jennifer, Claire walking around, and you can flag them down with that question. They'll help me collect those, and then during that transition, that break period, I'll look through them really fast, and we'll pick out the best ones and see how much we have time for in that Q&A. City Nerd Night today, this is our 7th or 8th maybe. So you are joining a really cool community of folks that are coming together to explore what it means to be Alaska's biggest city. And today the theme is doing business. The Anchorage Assembly does a lot of important work that shapes our day-to-day lives. And we know that for local business owners, that can mean things like incentives for, as an example, the Assembly this year changed the exemptions for personal property inventory taxes. So small businesses now can have more inventory before being taxed on those. They also just recently changed the code for cottage food industries, which is making it easier for small businesses to operate out of their kitchens with some public health requirements for labeling those products, but it means that small businesses don't have to have a commercial kitchen in order to start selling their foods and their products, which is super cool. So today is an important time for the municipality and the community at large to hear from local businesses. Here in Anchorage, we just love our local businesses, and 'tis the season to shop local and really lean into the community that makes this place so special. I will stop talking after I finish just with some housekeeping things. We've got restrooms through the doors on the left and the right. We've got a great team here today. I want to give a shout out to Tudor Road Studios, which is a small business that operates behind the scenes for us. Casey's back here in the corner, and Trent is running the production truck downstairs. Super cool. And we've got some amazing small business owners and lovers and supporters here in the program tonight. So without further ado, please welcome our first nerd, Melissa. I'm going to start a 7-minute timer after I log in with my very long and secure password. Hello? Okay. Everybody can see the 7-minute timer? All right, Melissa, are you ready? Thank you for kicking off the night, and your time starts now.
Hello, City Nerd Night. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for being here. It's my pleasure to be doing this presentation. I'll be giving a talk about doing business in Anchorage, inspire locals to build local connections. So first, a little bit about Quality Screens. That's the business I'm here representing today. We custom manufacture window screens and patio door screens. So I have a couple of samples here. So this would be a sample of our Better View mesh to keep bugs out with also better view and clarity. I also have a couple of our pet screens here, so that would be to keep your pets in, all while still providing airflow. A little bit about Quality Screens. So the business has been around since 1985. Shawn and I took over ownership. That was in 2019. We're the third owners of the business. It's moved around to locations a lot throughout the years, starting originally in Mountain View and then was on the west side, has been on the east side, and we're in Midtown Anchorage now. The original owner, he started the business really based on handshakes and reputation, so we're trying to modernize it, bring some fresh life to the business. This is Shawn and myself. So we're lifelong Alaskans, born and raised here. And then we have our two lovely daughters back there, so if you hear them, those are ours. So fun fact, so Shawn started working in Quality Screens when he was a teenager. He worked there part-time, seasonally, on and off throughout the years. The business came for sale, he was in a position to purchase it. But with that, he already had over 20 years of experience in screens before taking over ownership. Okay, so when I was thinking about doing business in Anchorage, and I was trying to think of what are the commonalities that business owners have. And for me, the first thing that came to my mind were the common challenges that we share. Remote logistics, seasonal markets, and global competition. For us, the frame to build these screens, it comes in 12 feet sticks. So you cut it down to size, but those 12 feet sticks, about 120 sticks to a box. It's very large, it's very heavy, it's very expensive to get up here. And with that, it's also can take months to receive our material. The seasonal market. So for us, 80% of our revenue is between April and September. It's really tough in the warmer months. We're really just trying to get orders out, right? And then in the colder months, it's very challenging as well. We have a team, we're trying to keep them going, we're trying to keep the motivation, we're trying to market, plan for the next year. So both these extremes can be very challenging. So what do? Business owners, we know what we do, right? We dig in and we solve problems and we get gritty and we get resilient. We innovate, we adapt, we figure it out. People are counting on us, right? So we move forward. And then with the challenges, I thought, is there more to that story? What does Anchorage have? And that really brings me to what the opportunities are for doing business here. And for me, it's that we're stronger together as a community. And community relationships matter. Working together, everyone wins. Rising tide lifts all boats. A few recent examples. A couple of Quality Screens examples. So there's a local building supply store that partners with us. They work directly with window manufacturers and they order screens that way, but they also work directly with us. So say they ordered some screens, they came in correctly, they know that they can tap on a local person who can build those screens correctly and timely, and they can fulfill the deadlines they have. Also, earlier this year, a window supplier here in Anchorage ran out of their frame material and wasn't able to fulfill their orders. They're another company that builds window screens. So they reached out to us, asked if there was anything we could do. We were able to work with them. They were able to get their orders done. Later on this year, they invited Shawn to go and tour their facility. We saw their manufacturing. We sat down with the owner. The owner has 20 years of business experience, and was willing to talk to us as newer business owners. And that brings me to the Small Business Development Center. My advisor over there, she's in the back. She has decades worth of experience and it's so valuable. I mean, any advice that I can get from her just helps the business move that much faster. So we have the challenges and we combat them with the resilience, but we can overcome the challenges by working together. Trust, value, and community. So this is the first slide again. Doing business in Anchorage, inspire locals to build local connections. And so I have on here, how do you make 1 and 1 equal 11? And it's by this, it's by community, it's by coming together. I looked at some of the other presenters who They've been in business way longer, their business are way more established, but I'm here, I'm having the uncomfortable conversations, I'm public speaking, I'm not a public speaker, because it's worth it. The value is worth it. Have the conversations, listen, be humble, learn. And so to just further reiterate that Quality Screens is for the community, we have another event that's coming up in February. Here's a little bit more information about that. We're partnering with the Chamber of Commerce, and we're co-hosting with the new Candlewood Suites on C Street. So if anyone has questions about that or questions about screens, I'd be more than happy to help. Thank you all so much.
Really nicely done. Let's give another round of applause for our first nerd of the night. Melissa, you crushed it. And truly, as somebody who has worked in the public sector for my whole career, I have had this like bias or this thought in my mind that it's Shark Tank out there, right? And that it's every person for themselves. And so to hear that, no, small businesses thrive when you do collaborate and when you work together, I thought that was just so inspiring. So thank you for sharing your story and the way that you are working in the community and building. That's really cool. Our next nerd of the night, let's just give her a welcome. Zeynep, come on up.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hey, since Melissa very graciously left those 1 minute, some seconds on there, I think I'm going to shamelessly take over those minutes. But to ease the pain of listening to me drone on, I brought some baklava, so hopefully that'll be helpful. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Zeynep Kılıç, and I am one of the 3 owners of Turkish Delight. And this is my second career in life. I'm actually a professor of sociology and food studies, and I actually never dreamt of owning a business. So along the ways, I've had some interesting epiphanies that I would like to at least share with you, some things that were surprising to me. So for starters, I thought, hey, I have a PhD. I mean, how hard could it be to go through this permitting process? Like, I can follow directions, I can read pretty well, and, enter 9 circles of hell, which starts with a permit that's called for demolition. Like, you have to apply and get something to break things up. Then you have to apply like for 20 more to build them back up again. And also, there are so many things that you have to go to classes and get certified for. The AMCO, TAP certification, the ServSafe, so on and so forth. You get them all, you're like, yay! And then they all expire, and then you have to redo them again. And then, they'll tell you, hey, you all have to have a food worker card, so you do. Then they tell you, oh, that's the state food worker card. The mini one is not the same. And of course, you took the wrong one, so you will do it. But then I thought, hey, people are really interested in authentic food, right? So a Turkish person selling you Turkish food sounds like a pretty good, like, perfect match. We're on the right track. Wrong again. Because what happens in this business is that we are in this weird transactional relationship now. So because you paid 19 bucks for that doner sandwich, now actually you are the ultimate judge and jury of my Turkishness. Did I do a good enough job? We shall see. So you see, the thing about this is that as a professor, I actually research authenticity in the ethnic food landscape, and I actually didn't like it. I thought it was a bit of a cover up for some problematic racial assumptions that we refuse to take apart and, somewhat romanticized. So, of course, congratulations to me by my own doing. Now I must live in the purgatory of authenticity till the day I die. What do I mean by this? So there are 2 5-star reviews here that we are extremely grateful for. They were super funny and super kind. But look at the language here. Ambiance wasn't aesthetically Turkish, but the food and the Sultan-esque music set a heavy enough tone of onion dome palaces and curved sabers. Then the other one makes a reference to the Ottoman Empire. So what's happening here is that I am guessing they really wanted to see something like that when they entered the space. And so it didn't appear Turkish to them. Because what happens is that you see yourself as the contemporary modern American diner. So when you're going to eat ethnic food, it's actually more than food. You want to be transported to some other mysterious exotic place. So that actually makes the experience even better, right? So what happens when they come into the space is that they get to actually tell you how good you did regarding being Turkish. And probably they've never been to Turkey, but never mind that. So the funny thing is here, it's a bit of a ridiculous setup because it's like me coming into your house and saying, boy, that apple pie is just amazing. You nailed it. But I just don't get the American vibe in your space. I mean, I don't see any references to pilgrims or Wild West or slavery. I mean, I don't know, George Washington, something, give me something. It doesn't feel American. It would be ridiculous for me to do that. I don't, but many people do it to us, right? So, of course, because we're in this transactional relationship, I have to be rather gracious because I want you to come back. So I can't really make you feel like you did something wrong. And most of the times, it's really with the best of intentions. Nobody's trying to hurt your feelings, right? So the professor in me dies a little bit every time this happens because I can't say anything about it. But it happens quite a bit. But I did wonder, wouldn't it be nice if we actually stopped to ask ourselves, why do I have that assumption? Why do I have that expectation? Where does that come from? That, of course, takes us into the ninth circle of hell called the one-star reviews. Because you know what, as a small business, you will want reviews and then you will get something like this every once in a while. Some people, no matter what you do, won't like you and it'll hurt, it'll sting a little bit. Like this guy who found that we had the charm of a Walmart bathroom. For your reference, on the left is an actual Walmart bathroom with pee in it. On the right is ours, where we brought lovingly art and handmade and hand-painted sinks and such from Turkey, but let's cut him some slack. Maybe it's not that far off. Then people will shout it off the rooftops, i.e. Google reviews, that you will crash and burn, you will fail so hard, even call you on the phone and yell at you that you're doing a horrible job. And the thing is, in the last 2.5 years we've been doing this, it's our first restaurant ever, I think we're doing pretty darn good. I mean, these are some of the things, thank you, that we have collected over the 2.5 years. And we have actually more than tripled the business volume. And on any given day, we have 25 to 62% return customer rate based on credit card data. So I would say maybe the customer isn't always right, right? But I guess the silver lining in this story is that no matter what you do, you will get reviews like this. If you want to be a small business owner, you got to develop thick skin and have a sense of humor, because on your 7th day of the week, on your 10th-hour shift, when you're working really hard to satisfy the community, you need something like this. You have to remind yourself that these are not the people you're doing this for, and they are actually a very, very minute percentage of the people who will come through your doors. So if you get to that place where you feel like, okay, I'm doing okay, how do you keep it? It's actually not that hard. Like only 4 things, in my opinion. First one is keep diners happy. What does that mean? I mean, you just have to be like perfect 100% of the time for like 300 years of the day. I mean, is it really that hard? I feel like you're all doing it at your job, so we should be able to do it too. Second is keeping your reviewers happy. Now, this is trickier because those are some finicky people. Since I come from the country of violent curved sabers, maybe an animal sacrifice is in order to keep those foodie gods happy. Then you have to keep your staff happy, particularly that very rare breed of unicorn that we call a dishwasher. If you can get one and keep them to actually consistently show up to work and not chip or break your dainty little hand-painted Turkish coffee cups that you brought from Turkey in your carry-on luggage, good luck. So there might be a few more sentient beings. But you gotta do what you gotta do, you know what I mean? Last one is also a problematic one because you also are working with these exotic and hard to find ingredients, and they come from very far away places. Enter the contact improv dance we call shipping to Alaska and tariffs. So it's never not exciting. It's very exciting, I tell you. But this is also something that hides something sinister behind it. One of the other assumptions people make is that ethnic foods should be dirt cheap but plentiful. The reality is that it's actually much more difficult to get those ingredients, and it's more expensive as a result to provide what we're providing. So that's something also to keep in mind as well. yes, there are many hardships, but you know what? At the end of the day, although the permitting process and so on and so forth is no joke, we also have so many community organizations that do an amazing job providing a lot of good services to us for free. Anchorage Community Land Trust and the Small Business Development Center held our hand throughout the process, and that was incredibly valuable. So that's great that we have that in our city. And then we are a very diverse city in Anchorage, and people are really interested in trying ethnic food. So obviously that is a huge bonus for businesses like us. We appreciate that. Thirdly, Anchorage will really support you. I mean, they really come out. It's fascinating how much you eat out. Like, it's almost shocking how much you eat out. Not even a blizzard will keep you. Like, on a blizzard day, I'm only going to work because the unicorn is not going to show up, for sure. And also the Uber won't pick up the servers. So I have to go in to wash the dishes. I don't know why you are there. Do you not like your houses? Um, but, of course, we are extremely grateful because it means we can actually keep doing what we love doing. Last thing I want to say is that when we started this business, the thing that I thought most about was the diners, because we wanted to really share our love for food and we wanted to really share our culinary heritage with you all and do a good job at it. One thing I didn't really think that much about was actually the workers. The interesting thing about running an ethnic business is that almost no native born Americans want to work for you. When we advertise for jobs, only the new immigrants and young refugees, etc., apply for it. So that actually brings a huge, difficulty and some, we have to shoulder some responsibility here because they don't know the language half the time. They don't know the system. The culture is brand new to them. They don't have any credit history. So, on your one day off that you think you were going to sleep in, good luck because you're at DMV at 8 a.m. because you have to translate for your chef so he can get a driver's license so you don't have to drive them everywhere. So we do that though because you're also witnessing somebody's American dream come through. And that reminds me of myself 32 years ago when I arrived. So in many ways, I do feel that this is the kind of responsibility that we will lovingly and proudly shoulder to see them become productive members of our local community, to get to see the American culture and Alaskan culture and the Anchorage culture through our eyes, to really kind of help them get on their way, and we appreciate that so much. Thank you.
I lost track of time, so I don't even know how that all went. But it was incredible. I was enthralled. Thank you so much. Please welcome Jasmin.
Okay, there you go. Hey, everybody. So, I feel like my presentation is about to be like, oh, snap, what is she finna say? Um, so, I feel like I have two different hats that I wear when it comes to business. In one capacity, I'm an entrepreneur, and by the definitions of the people that I value, they would say successful. But then on the other side, I'm more of an ecosystem builder. And so, technically, I'm here as Umoja co-working and incubator space, which we started 5 years ago. It's a co-working space. Oh, I don't know how to get to my pictures. Well, I could keep talking, but it's a co-working space that we started in Mountain View, trying to speak to, oh, okay, diverse communities. Okay, there you go. And it should be, is it 3 pictures or the, okay, there you go. Okay, so I speak to 2 different languages. So I'm gonna first say I'm a business owner, a serial entrepreneur, and then other capacity, I'm an ecosystem supporter. So in community, I do a lot of event planning, like Juneteenth, things of that nature, Black Business Expo, Black Fashion Week, Black Chamber of Commerce, NAACP, Mountain View Community Council, all those things. But then on the business side, the business that I'm most known for is Baby Vin LLC. So we had the vending machines in the airports, and I started that for my kids who don't need it anymore. And they already talked to me, they're on their cell phones now. But I say that because that journey to start that company, when I look back on it, it was so hard. And as a woman of color in that business and being from the neighborhood that's always deemed the untouchable, it wasn't as much of a romanticized, we can do this experience. It was hard because I had an idea to start a vending machine company. I didn't even know how to use a vending machine. I bought it off Craigslist from this lady that could have sold me a bad machine. I didn't know how to use it. My kids were putting Chuck E. Cheese tokens in it. And it took one of my friends coming over and being like, touch the machine, Jasmin, like touch it, right? And so, you know, you have these ideas and you want to walk out on faith in business, but you're also scared. And then when you think about the socioeconomic side of it and the cultural side of it, everybody isn't raised understanding Western definitions of business, right? Or Western definitions of money. So in Anchorage, we have this amazing, beautiful entrepreneurial ecosystem, but sometimes it does feel like the haves and the have-nots. Everyone's not always ready or comfortable to go to certain spaces. They don't know if they speak the language. They don't know the jargon. They don't know how to do the profit and loss statement or make the 80-page business plan or do those things. Sometimes they don't even have good credit. You can't even get a bank account, right? And so I realized quickly navigating all those things in Baby Vin and being able to overcome it is the reason we opened Umoja Co-working and incubator space, to be able to say at some point in business, we have so many resources that help people with the hard skills, but what about the interpersonal side, the personal development part of what it really takes to be an entrepreneur or be a business owner, what it takes to overcome your generational experiences and just hold someone's hand and be like, I see you. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm here with you, whether it goes good or goes bad. And we realized that that was missing. And that's what we really wanted to, number one, bring to the community, and then provide a voice to those that felt like maybe in business they didn't have one, with the focus on diverse businesses and Black and brown businesses. So we always tell people in business, we didn't want to code switch and have to turn off and turn on who we are. And we wanted to also get back to that village mentality of business, like how many of us grew up, and not feel like we had to be colonized in business. And so from that, I could just say in about 1 minute, with Baby Vin, we went from one machine in my garage to machines in 30 states and 2 countries, learning how to build the machines. People don't realize, like, we found our own locations. We had to build the machines. We had to source the parts from China. We actually got CDL trucks to drive the machines. We did the marketing. We did the outreach. We did the contracts, the products, the insurance. It was like 18 businesses in one, all while being a single mom, still living in Mountain View. And so that birthed this. So these days, in my culture, I tell people I'm a big believer in Sankofa, which is a West African principle that means go back and fetch it. And it means that you have to know where you came from to appreciate where you are now. And it isn't just about the transactional part of business and the dollar amount and the aesthetic. It's about the people and just saying their name and letting them know whether they have the big budget or the small budget, they're appreciated. So a lot of the clients and folks that we deal with at Umoja are like cultural individuals, refugees, ESL speakers, people who are like, I didn't even see healthy money relationships growing up, but I'm going to try. And so I wanted to quiz you guys and then just share businesses that I'm proud of that maybe you know, maybe you don't, but just to give an idea of who else is out there that you should be thinking about. So my first question, I know I'm going to go over, but I'll try to be fast. Does anyone know who this is? So this woman is named Bessie Couture. This is the first Black-owned business in Alaska in like the 1890s. She had 2 restaurants in Skagway. I teach my kids that because people think Black businesses in Anchorage and Alaska just popped up in the 80s. And I'm like, but we've been here. Like, there was a pipe. All right, so it's just like, oh, the pipeline came, then y'all came, and then there was military, and here we are. But we've been here, right? I ask, does anyone know what that restaurant is here in Anchorage? Okay, so we got the Chop Suey House, like the first Asian restaurant in Anchorage almost, like, what, 1917 by the Kimura family, Japanese immigrants. So this is to say, diverse businesses, we've been here, right? And then, do you want to know who this lady is? This is Zula Swanson. I strive to be her. She had a couple hotels, you get what I'm saying? Hotels and hospitality. But she came up in Anchorage to be a really successful woman. Like, I think it was whoever owns the current Fifth Avenue Mall lot, they bought that from her. You wouldn't even have Otter Lake. That was her backyard. She didn't have any kids or descendants. She helped start NAACP here and had a lot of businesses and did private loans, and banks wouldn't even lend to our businesses here in Anchorage. And so I just tell people the other part of entrepreneurship here is recognizing everybody's walking different paths. and they have different experiences, and it is about connecting in business. And in closing, I just want to say some business names that I know of that I think you should know of, and if you do already, sweet, but I like to just give love just so you know who's out there. So some of my favorite diverse businesses, I love Eugene Cho. He has a space on Muldoon. He also just purchased the Korean newspaper here in Anchorage, and they have so many businesses. Um, I love Bill, I can't pronounce his last name, Hapai and his family, who owns Hula Hands, but people don't even realize this Hawaiian man actually owns West Berlin. So you think when you're eating your German food, it's like some German family. It's the same man. He went over there and learned how to cook German food. And so like, oh, so you're over here eating Polynesian food. When you cross the street and it's German, it's the same family. Um, Portage Glacier Day Lodge. I love that family. That's a black African-American family who came up from Atlanta. They make conch, all kinds of stuff seasonally. And so I support them because I want to support community, what they're doing out there. My kids, they just purchased Lake Hood Bike Rental. So if you ride your bikes in the summertime, they have their company. And then, of course, there's like Crystals. She owns this parfait company here on South Side. It's like that big purple when you're driving by it off O'Malley. So she's another amazing one. I think about Lena and all the work that she does in the Hispanic community with her bakery and then Soledad Media Noche. And so I just say, I know my experiences and struggles with business, but specifically Baby Event. It was like 801, but we did it and we got to acquisition and sold and kept part of it and made it happen. But that is what fueled me to make a space where we can remember in our business journey, it's somebody running it and they're a person and they have an experience, and sometimes it's hard and we have to see them. So I try to just, in closing, say, yes, all the hard skills are important, from like what we go through with permits and marketing and advertising, but don't forget what we need to do to support the person running the business, because any entrepreneur knows it is hard, and one day you're up here, the next day you want to quit, one week you got rich, the next week you didn't make any money, and then like you have employee turnover. So I just always say I want to make sure I never forget that in my journey and when we help other entrepreneurs.
7 minutes is a loose rule. We're we're having fun here tonight. Please welcome Evan. For you, clicker right here.
Sorry about that. Shout out to the assembly for putting this on. This is so fun. I've never been to one of these before, but these first three talks, hard acts to follow. But what a great group of presenters so far. I'm here to talk about Turnagain Ceramics. Changing gears a little bit, we are a local community pottery studio located at 14th and G in the old Fire Island bakery location. We offer all kinds of pottery classes. You don't need any experience. If you are experienced, we also offer studio memberships if you just need a place to do pottery. We also have an amazing pottery gallery that showcases the pottery from the 30 plus artists who sell their work and work out of the Turnagain Ceramics studio. We have a supply store. Like Melissa said, getting things up to Alaska is not easy, but we make that easier for local potters who are looking for clay, glaze, pottery wheels, kilns, etc. And one of my favorite core offerings that we've been doing since we started about 3.5 years ago is hosting team building events for local companies, birthday parties for kids and adults, and other group events like that. You might be wondering, what credentials do I have to talk to you about pottery studios in Alaska? I am Evan Freed. I was born and raised in Alaska. I got both my early pottery and business chops here. Shout out to Becky Voris, who was my first pottery teacher at West High. Sounds like she's got some fans here, which is not surprising at all. I also, sounds like you two started a bunch of businesses as a little kid. And my most successful one as a teenager was a mini donut, baked Alaska cream puff business that operated for 4 years, starting in 2006. Um, After I graduated high school, I left Alaska for 12 years to go to school. I ended up in San Francisco working in tech startups, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum from a pottery studio, for about 8 years. During COVID, like so many other folks, I fled the city. I came back to Alaska initially thinking I'd be here temporarily just to weather the pandemic. But I ultimately stayed, and I've been back here since. And the first reason why I came and stayed was the amazing people. My family's here. I met my now fiance Ellen. But another moment of clarity for me was I came back in June, and I was sad when the summer was over, and then I was sad when the winter was over, and I was like, man, I really need to just move back here. I'm sad when every season is over, and I'm excited for the next one. In 2022, I teamed up with Max, my business partner. He also learned from Becky Voris, and we opened Turnagain Ceramics. So when I was thinking what a bunch of fellow nerds might be interested in hearing about pottery in Alaska, I landed on seasonality. The seasons in Alaska are such a force for all of us. And while it may not seem obvious, and certainly we didn't anticipate it when we opened about 3.5 years ago, the seasons are a driving force for us. How and why? Kind of similar to what Melissa said, but like our sales in June, which is typically our slowest month, are less than half of what they are in November. Our expenses, the business needs, etc., are not half in June, and they're not double in November. So it kind of made us think like, all right, things are going well, but if we want to have a successful business year round, how do we make that happen? So I'm gonna start with winter, since that's where we find ourselves allegedly, even though it was raining this morning. Winter is pottery's kind of time to shine. Pottery, it turns out, is a winter sport, at least in Alaska. We've never had to work hard to drum up business. People are excited to try it out. Our studio, if you've never been there, is a very nice, cozy, warm space. It's a great place to be in the wintertime. So the seasonality of the winter wasn't about figuring out how to get more customers in the door, but rather it was about how do we handle all of these customers rushing in. And these are good problems to have. Just like some of us might think that that's a good problem to have, others maybe not, depending on where you fall on whether you like skiing or not. But even good problems, you still have to solve them. We opened in May, and by that November, we were figuring a lot of things out. And there weren't any magic solutions, but a lot of a million little tweaks and adjustments and innovations from our staff, from our customers, etc., allowed us to respond to that massive influx in business. Fall and spring, on the other hand, they're kind of transitional periods, just like for all of us in Alaska. In springtime, one of our highlights is the empty bowl sale. So we partner with Beans Cafe. As you all know, they do an annual empty bowl sale. We bring potters in, we make hundreds of bowls, we sell them in March, and then we donate them to Beans Cafe. In the fall, similar, we're staying pretty busy, but we've got a little extra time, so we throw our biggest event of the year, which is Clayfest. It's a block party style festival celebrating communion and clay. If you haven't been there, put it on your calendar, September 5th, 2026. It's a lot of fun. Now, summer. Summer is the golden child, as always, with Alaska, except for when it comes to pottery, it turns out. It's tough to compete with this and all the other amazing things that local folks have to do in the summertime in Alaska. So business is going great in November, fast forward a few months, and business is down by 50, 60%. So that we're not overwhelmed by customers. We're figuring out how to get more customers. So the first thing we really tried here was launching Clay Camp. So never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be running a kids summer camp. But we did. We started that in 2023. We're gonna have our 4th summer next summer. It's been a ton of fun. We've had hundreds of campers who have made thousands of pieces of pottery that their parents are so proud of. But more importantly, they had a ton of fun along the way. The second thing that we've tried more recently is targeting tourists. So prior to last summer, all of our business was geared towards local folks, taking classes, buying our pottery, being members, buying supplies. But we figured, hey, we have all these folks coming to Anchorage every summer. You see them wandering around downtown. There's not, they don't always have something to do. We're a 10-minute walk from downtown. The first thing we launched was make your own Alaskan souvenir. Come make a halibut-shaped spoon rest. We'll mail it to you when you get home. It'll be ready for you. The second thing was just marketing our pot. We're a local Alaska-made pottery gallery a few minutes from downtown. Huge shout out to Visit Anchorage, Anchorage Downtown Partnership. They're doing amazing work, and they've been really helpful for us so far. This was a ton of fun. Most of the folks who made their own Alaskan souvenir ended up being Alaskans, but we'll take it. Here's a couple pictures from those classes. They are wildly cute. If you missed it last summer, we'll be doing it again in a couple months. So in closing, without being too cheesy, seasonality is what makes Alaska Alaska in a lot of ways. It's what kept me here. It wasn't an unexpected, but really should have been expected reality when we opened the business, but it was something we had to adapt to. When I'm at a business or I'm thinking about businesses in Alaska, that's one of the things I'm curious about is like, oh wow, how do they make it through the year? Or do they operate year round, et cetera? So it's been fascinating to hear the 3 folks before me, and I hope this was interesting for you all. I could talk about this forever, but I'll leave it there. I hope to see you all in the studio soon, and cheers to Alaska businesses.
Evan, thanks so much. Perfect. I love it when we love the winter time. Yay! Great. Thanks so much. All right, we are about halfway through our lineup, so please welcome our 5th Nerd of the Night. I was double checking my numbering here. Please welcome up Shawn. Shawn's going to come up. I'm going to reset the clock. Here you are. And I've got your clicker, my friend. Yes, so you just let me know.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Yes.
Y'all having a good time? Okay. So my name is, excuse me, I'm a little nervous. This is my first Nerd Night. My name is Shon Dinkins. I'm the owner of Southern City Cookin, and I've been in Alaska for 30 years. When I first came to Alaska, I was like, where do my sister have me? Like, felt like another world, because I'm from the city, so I'm used to seeing, swimming pools, amusement parks, and I'm like, I start looking around, I'm like, oh, okay. All right, so this is my business, Southern City Cookin, and that's the picture of my website. You can go to the website and book me anytime. So that's me. When I got started, at first, I've always loved to cook. I am the youngest of 13, and both of my parents, they had me in the kitchen all the time. I couldn't do much, but I was always watching them cook. And for a big family, you have to cook. So, who are we? Southern City Cookin is a a catering service. We provide meals for corporate events, weddings, barbecues. This year I was really busy, and it's all been word of mouth. I did a big barbecue for CITC. I did a big barbecue for the Alaska Railroad. Um, you know, my name is getting out there because my food is so good. So I came to Alaska in 1988, and to help my sister out with her children. She was military, and you know it's hard to find daycare when they have to go on tour or be gone for weeks at a time. So that's what brought me to Alaska. I started my first business, which was Tiny Tots Daycare. And I went on from there, and once my children got of age and was in school full-time, I decided I'm going back to work full-time. And since I like to travel, I'll start working for Alaska Airlines. So I left, worked for Alaska Airlines for several years. Then, I don't know if you guys heard of the big layoff they had back in 2005, Alaska Airlines. They just let us all go. So they said either go back to school or, you know, take the severance. So I took the severance and went back to school. And that's when I got my culinary arts degree. I worked while working at Providence, Alaska Native Medical Center, you know, here in Alaska. And then I heard about the state fair. Light bulb went off. I want to cook. I want to get out there. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I just filled out the application. They accepted me. I'm like, now what? So then that's when all the challenges start coming. I'm like, okay, I got to get a 10 by 10 booth. Where am I going to get that from? So I did my research, found the 10 by 10 booth. Then it was an empty shell. I'm like, I need a hand sink. I need equipment. I need this, I need that. So I contacted a friend of mine who did some electrical work, was able to put all these things in place for me. I was at the fair. I did really well. Only thing, I didn't have enough staff. So I flew up some family members from the East Coast to come up and help me for the 2 weeks. They had to go back home. I'm like, okay, well, what about next year? So of course, you know, the challenges come with another business. So that was my second business. Then I came back, as I was working, I started volunteering at Beans Cafe, which I love, you know, to give back to feed the homeless. And I entered the Empty Bowl soup competition. And, you know, it's by public votes. So people come in, they taste the soup, give you the tickets. I won 2015, did it again 2016, did it again 2017. So, you know, I was, so I said, okay, Lord, what you got for me? So I left working at Beans Cafe and ended up Covenant House for about 7 years, feeding the at-risk youth. I just love cooking. So then I started another business with my daughter, Alaska Sweet and Savory. So that's my daughter. She's like my right hand. She helps me with everything. And actually, this event, Jasmin had contacted my daughter, and we did an event with her at the Sheraton, sold some treats. So after that, my daughter, she went back to school for natural help, and she actually has her own business. She's following in my footsteps. She does soap opera, so she has her own natural soaps. Okay. How did I grow my business? So after Alaska Sweet and Savory, I was like, well, you know, I really want to cook full time. I want to expand my business and, you know, provide home cooked meals And so I had to focus on my target audience and start building my customer base and everything. And so I ended up doing Saturday markets and public events, and my name just started getting out there. Just people start calling me, you know. So that's where I am right now. I'm still working full-time and doing my catering part-time. So, of course, you know, the financial challenges, you know, it's hard still trying to pay your mortgage and rent and car note and, you know, just college for my kids. So now that my daughter graduated this year, thank you, Jesus, it's time for me. And so that's where I'm at. And that's how Southern City Cookin began. And I am working with the Small Business Development Center. They've been helping me. They've been awesome. Alaska Community Land and Trust, you know, so look out for my next brick and mortar. It's coming soon. And thank you.
Really well done. Awesome job.
And thank you, Allie, and thanks for putting me on the spot.
Yay! Great job. Give it up for Shawn, everyone. Oh, what an amazing story. Wow, that's great. It is my pleasure to welcome a late-breaking entry into City Nerd Night, Lee, as of like Monday, jumping into the lineup. Please welcome Lee.
Are we on? Is that? Are we working? You know what? I'm colorblind.
Oh, here.
Just joking. I love doing that to people.
Here. Let's try it. Let's try it one more time. Oh, it definitely is.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I just have to get really into it. Yeah, I actually am colorblind. It's a fun fact I like to start every presentation with. So my name is Lee Ellis. I am the president of Midnight Sun Brewing Company. We're the oldest brewery in Anchorage. And I like to present myself as the most unwilling business owner in the room. So I'm going to talk a little bit about breweries tonight, but I'll introduce, I guess, myself a little bit. I started working in the brewing industry in 2002, working for a brewery called Mac and Jack's Brewing Company in Redmond, Washington. Redmond is home to a small corporation called Microsoft. So it was a very successful business because it turns out tech people really enjoy drinking. I came to Alaska, and this is actually the funniest thing about all these presentations is how much overlap there is. I've been to Turkey. And yeah, you know what? Every restaurant there doesn't look like you're in Turkey. It's amazing. Amazing food, though. But I came to Alaska as a Jesuit volunteer. I left the brewing industry, and I went to work for Beans Cafe, which is funny that we've had so much overlap with that tonight. So I started out as a social worker. When I finished my social working duties, I applied for Midnight Sun Brewing Company because it was my favorite brewery in town. And there was only 4 breweries in town then, and they ended up hiring me. So I started at Midnight Sun Brewing Company washing kegs. I today am now the largest shareholder. I own almost 50% of the company, and I am the president. And those were all horrible decisions. No, I love working in brewing. I never imagined being a business owner. It was never part of my plan. I did grow up in a small business family. My father ran his own business, and we all worked there. He actually installed cubicle curtains or sold them into hospitals, and me and my brothers would iron those curtains so that they looked nice when they hung up, and we installed them as well when I was 12 years old. I installed cubicle curtains at Children's Hospital when I was 12 years old. I don't think that was legal. So I'm going to talk about the brewing industry in general and some of the things that we're dealing with today. Alaska is 4th nationally in craft beer consumption. So thank you all. Part of the success that we enjoy in the state is because you people drink a ton of beer, and I really appreciate that. But you drink a lot of craft beer. So that makes you very different. You guys actually are very locally focused, and that has helped a lot of us be successful. Number 5 in brews per capita, that's a challenge. So Alaska has a ton of breweries, which means there's a lot of competition for all of us. If you actually remove the rural and local option areas, local option means that communities are dry, Alaska probably has the densest brewing community in the nation. And there's 61 breweries in the state of Alaska, 15 in Anchorage, and under state law, you're allowed to have 1 brewery tasting room, not just brewery, breweries are unlimited now, One brewery tasting room per 9,000 people, which means Sitka can only have one brewery tasting room. Most communities in Alaska can only have one brewery tasting room. Anchorage can have 32. However, King Street has a restaurant eating place license, which I spent 6 years working on the legislation to make that happen. Which is probably why I got invited to this. You may remember me from my campaign for District 9. That actually brings me to my favorite joke. I already said it tonight to somebody, but if anybody encourages you to start your own business, that person is not your friend. And if anybody encourages you to run for public office, that person is also not your friend. So the upsides to brewing in Anchorage in particular, not Fairbanks. The water in Fairbanks is terrible. And actually, Black Spruce Brewing Company used to have all their water shipped to them because they couldn't get water at their location. But Anchorage has the best water possibly nationally in the world. Sitka gets rated and Juneau gets rated as the best water, but I think Anchorage has amazing water and plentiful and amazing amounts of water. So breweries in the old days used to be next to a river because they would take the water in to make all their beer, and then, you know, the rest is down the river. Anchorage, and I do love that you talked about permitting. So Alaskans a lot of times live on an island, and we imagine that we have it the worst. We do not. We do not at all. If you deal with a permitting office in Los Angeles or Seattle or any other major city, you are going to have to pay somebody off. That's not a joke. You are going to have to do all sorts of things. I had a friend just tell me a story that in order to get a building permit in Hawaii, they had to buy somebody a television for their office. Those things really do happen. The Anchorage permitting office actually turns around permits pretty quick. I've had to fight with them. I've had to argue with them, but they're willing to talk to you. Most permitting offices, you can't even get a hold of anybody. So Anchorage-wise, I know we all talk about how awful permitting is, and I agree that there are challenges to it, but you need to get out and see the rest of the world because it's a million times worse. Is that a good measurement? I don't know, but it is. Affordable commercial space. This is the wild thing. We definitely talk about how expensive living is up here. Did you know that the median house price is $440,000? Do you know what the median house price is in Anchorage? Just under 400. This is the cheapest city to live in on the entire West Coast. I don't know why. I don't know why people aren't here. I don't know what the problem is. Commercial space is actually really cheap. I have friends, so being from Seattle, I have friends all down the West Coast who work in breweries. Guys in San Francisco are renting their brewery space at $3 a square foot a month. I'm paying $1.10. It's a huge difference. So the reason I talk about the state is because from Anchorage, you can manufacture to supply the state. There is a brewery in this state that made a horrible decision and decided to be a brewery on an island. They've been very successful, but I can tell you it made their life really challenging. And the reason that's beer-powered beer is because there's nowhere to send thousands of tons of grain when it's done. So they have to burn it in order to create energy. So that's Alaskan Brewing Company, sorry. But most of all, great community breweries. I really appreciate that statement about a rising tide raises all ships. That is very much the community here in Alaska with brewers. Brewers work together constantly. I just supplied hops to 49th State Brewing Company today. We borrow things from each other all the time. Shipping is never quick, so we always run out of stuff and we always borrow from each other. So we're constantly borrowing things from King Street and them from us. So we all work together. And then, I mean, we even bring beer to each other, like, because that's what I need as a brewer is free beer. If you go to a brewer's house, don't bring them beer. That's just, you know. Sorry, wow, I'm going way over. The Downs, extremely high freight costs. Alaska's freight costs are the highest in the nation. They're higher than Hawaii. Challenging to find skilled workforce. You will have to put all your effort into raising your workforce. You're going to have to do that yourself. Extremely seasonal. Yep. So when you're doing really well, I'm not making money. I think we should start a pottery brewery. Yeah, we see a 70% decline between January and June. And my favorite comment from people is, wow, I feel like I drink more in the winter. Well, you don't. I've been hearing that for 20 years. People are certain. Alaskans are, there's a lot of things about Alaskans. Alaskans are very price conscious. And I love it when people in Sitka complain about the price of a 6-pack of beer. And you're like, you chose to live on an island. But Alaskans are very price conscious because everything's expensive and everybody's competing for your dollar. You only have so many dollars in your pocket, and everybody in this town is trying to get an extra 10% out of you, as we call it, the Alaska tax. So that is always a challenge for us. Alaskans are also well traveled. So they do see prices for a beer in other places, and sometimes that's good because $11 pints in Seattle, and sometimes it's bad because $6 six-packs in Montana. So there's always challenges with that. Alaskans also have higher expectations. You do travel a lot. We are the most traveled people as far as I know. I know people in Wisconsin don't leave Wisconsin. I don't know a single Alaska doesn't leave Alaska. So there's a lot of different challenges dealing with this population. So what's going on with us is basically the worst times ever. That's what we're going through right now. And I was just explaining that to somebody, that we went through COVID, which was a once in a 100-year event, right? And some people had fun. We did not. My wife had fun. She worked from home. Now she works from home all the time. It's awesome. Love it. Not me. Got to go to work every day. And no one was buying beer until they started buying a ton of beer. And then we couldn't get any materials to make it. And so it was extremely rough. And now we're dealing with the lowest amount of consumption by Americans since Prohibition. So now we're dealing with the next awful 100-year event. Right after each other. Yep. And so I started running Midnight Sun January 1st, 2020. And as I tell people, the coolest 10 weeks. It was the coolest 10 weeks ever. And then everything went downhill. The state, small community brewers will continue to do well. Girdwood Brewing Company always does well. They've got a captive audience. Anchorage breweries are going to have a little bit more of a challenge. There's going to be consolidation. There's going to be closings. It's going to happen. There's going to be consolidation. Consolidation is what happens in this kind of business. If I am not running my facility at 90% capacity and King Street isn't running their facility at 90% capacity, then it makes sense for us to join together. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's how it works. We're a manufacturing business. When manufacturing lines aren't running, you're losing money. That's all you're doing. And I watch it. I lose more money, I think, than I win anymore. And as long as Alaska continues this slow economic decline, this is what it's going to be like. Yeah, I don't expect to see a lot of breweries opening up. We are actually opening up a brewery in downtown Anchorage, though, in February. Yeah. We're opening a little 3-barrel brewery at the Wild Birch Hotel, which is the newest and finest hotel in all of Anchorage. We've been working on that project for 5 years. Anyways, sorry, I thought I was going to be like right in there on 7 minutes. Anyways, so what breweries have been doing in the last 10 years? Surviving stagnation. It's extremely difficult to grow a local-focused manufacturing business in a state that is losing population and losing its place on the income per capita. So we try to be more efficient. We hope for the best, but I don't know. That's my story. I hope it all goes well. But we like making beer, so we're going to keep doing that until they don't let us anymore. So I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Lee. Beautiful. You can just leave it. Yeah, it's all good. I think the theme is a rising tide lifts all boats. Yes. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break. You're going to be able to order beverages, very on theme. And then we'll come back. We'll have the room slightly reset because we've only got one more presenter, and then we'll head right into a Q&A. Thank you all for being flexible about 7 minutes. It's been a great lineup of presenters, so let's take some time for ourselves. Thanks.
Hendricks on the drums. And Mr. Steve Nelson on the keys playing for you. My name's Justin Smith, and we got Doc Washington in the house, all the way here from Phoenix to sing for you. And stick around, folks, because we're playing all night. Here we go.
While you enjoy each other's company, please don't hesitate to write questions down. All right, folks. I hope you are enjoying each other's company. Let's go ahead and settle back in for the back half of the program. Ooh. Yeah, we could use a buzzer right now, couldn't we? Folks, thank you so much for coming to City Nerd Night tonight. I was just talking with some folks who have never been to this program before and are delightfully surprised by how wonderful it is. How great has this lineup been so far? We took a couple months off from City Nerd Night this fall because we were celebrating the municipality's 50th anniversary. So our local government is only 50 years old in the way that we know it today. So we had lots of great events with community partners, and it just meant that our small but mighty team of 3 just didn't have the bandwidth to pull City Nerd Night together in September. And it also means that today has been hugely invigorating. So we've had just such a great lineup of folks that are speaking from the heart about what it means to be involved in this community and contribute in all of the very intense and like high risk and high reward ways that it takes to run a small business. And it's just been so inspiring and reinforced why in legislative services we do this program. So we're looking forward to our next City Nerd Night in February in partnership with the Anchorage Museum as part of Design Week. So if you'd like to learn more about that, the theme, potentially pitch a presentation yourselves, please do take a moment and scan the QR code on these little blue table tents on your tables, and subscribe to our email newsletter where we'll distribute that information here within the next couple of weeks. And we'll leave that call for pitches open through the holidays and into the new year. And then you get the chance to work with me through the process of developing a presentation, which is so fun. So that event will be at the Seed Lab downtown, and we're really looking forward to it. So to close out the back half of our program, first, we'll welcome Angie, and then I'll ask our lineup of presenters to come to the front so that we can do a little Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to get out of the way. Give it up for Angie.
Okay. She told me I only can click the one button, and I was able to do that. Turns out I don't even have to point it at the screen. So when I first talked to Allie about City Nerd Night, I did make the disclaimer that back in my early 20s, I drove for Princess Tours the first year they opened up the Hall Road from Fairbanks to the North Slope to Dead Horse. So I can talk for 3 days. Yeah. So 7 minutes is going to be a challenge, but I'm going to do my best. So grab your drink, hold on to your chair, because I'm going to go a little quickly. I work for the Alaska Small Business Development Center, and I'm going to be focusing more on the nerdy side of things because it's really wonderful that all of these business owners have talked about their experiences, and it's going to be reflected in some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about. So first, my background is I'm a lifelong Alaskan. I grew up in my family's business and then started my own business that was supported by my mom. She invested in us at the very beginning, and then what I like to say, she kept us on track by questioning why we were purchasing so many sticky notes. They were essential for our business, I promise. And now I get to help other entrepreneurs, and oh my God, I love my job, and the representation here tonight can tell you why. Okay, what does the SBDC do? We help businesses throughout their life cycle. In 3 quick bites, we offer coaching, training and workshops, and tools and resources. You'll see at the bottom of all these slides our website, because I'm going to encourage you to go there to find out more information. Okay, every year we do an annual report, and we do an annual survey that goes out to all the clients we have served statewide. And the numbers are amazing. And you'll see on the tables and around of exactly how many people we helped in 2024. Real quickly. 1,588 clients served. 132 new businesses created and started. 3,172 jobs supported. Now, the important thing to remember about the Small Business Development Survey is that we help the business owners. We're not actually a lender. We can't give legal or tax advice or help cannabis businesses. We do help people be prepared. And oftentimes people will come to us after they've already started and they need to understand cash flow or they need to understand marketing. So just keep that in mind. All right, I'm going with the food theme here. I'm going to deliver the survey response results. That is, the report's 14 pages long, each of the reports, in 3 bite-sized sampler plates. What we saw in the 2024 Small Business Survey, the top challenges sounded like what you expect in a normal but tough year. Finding customers, finding the employees, and our high operating costs. When we checked again in early 2025, there was a shift. Suddenly, the top challenges were cost of goods and inflation, operating costs, and political uncertainty. This is the big signal. It's the first time political uncertainty has ever ranked in the top 3, not even during COVID. So if you're wondering what's happening on the ground, I think the rest of the presenters tonight tell you. They don't stop being ambitious. They're just trying to plan without a stable forecast. And when small businesses can't predict the next 90 days, it affects hiring, pricing, and investment. Everything that keeps our economy going. Usually I talk with my hands, so this is really interesting. Okay, over the last few years, the survey trend shows it's getting harder for businesses to hold steady. Again, echoing what we've seen here tonight. I'm going to let you go ahead and read what's on the screen, but I'm going to talk mostly about what we heard in this first quarter. And that is that 61% of businesses who answered our survey reported tariff-related supplier price increases. And nearly half, 48%, said they're raising their own prices because of tariffs, and 35% of business owners are just trying to hold it down. That's the squeeze in plain language. Costs go up, margins tighten, and owners have to decide, are your customers going to absorb another price increase, or are you going to have to cut something else? Okay. How am I doing? Oh man, 1 minute. Okay, this is what we know. Hiring stays hard. Our survey said it still continues that finding workers is the top difficulty and challenge. Capital is getting more complicated. So here's what's interesting about our survey and where we help people. In 2024, only 21% of our businesses were going to seek capital, working capital, expansion, whatever. But in early 2025, all of a sudden 36% were looking for more funding. What's important is the why. We've gotten a glimpse of it from everyone else up here tonight, and it doesn't always mean expansion. So when we look at these survey results, we're hearing what sounds like building a bridge, navigating more expensive overhead, uncertainty, and dealing with supply chain challenges. Some of the business owners told us what they think would help: lower interest rates and a centralized place to find funding. Okay, we all want a big piggy bank that we can pull from, believe me. Okay, all of you who know somebody who has a business, those of you who have a business, hold steady, hire carefully, and look for the support that you have. This word word cloud was pulled together from all of the survey responses where they were asked to use one word to describe being in their business. It depends, as a former business owner and business advisor, it depends on the day and the hour. Still, challenging is right up there, and it doesn't mean the challenge is always difficult. It can just be that it brings out the best in us. Okay, 0 minutes. Okay, here's the thing. A lot of people, and this is where you leave here and share the information and the inspirations that you've heard tonight. Many people think small business is the mom and pop, the small restaurant, the small manufacturing place, but it's defined by the SBA as generally a business with less than 500 employees, depending on the industry, the dollar amount of their revenues, 10 million, etc. But in the last SBA report on Alaska, there are 75,980 small businesses in Alaska. That's 99.1% of all Alaska businesses. So whether you're getting your tires changed over, or having a plumber come to your house, or going to the market and buying fresh produce, those are all small businesses. Okay, when owners are not navigating all of these struggles, and when you hear of somebody who's looking for practical support, I don't have to say it because some of our other business owners tonight have recognized the SBDC business advising as being instrumental in their trajectory, hopefully upwards. Use the word of mouth. Let people know where we are, because we are no cost. It is free business advising. It's one-on-one. We have access to industry reports and tools. We help business owners who are seeking capital to find the right lender, be prepared, and have the most chance of success. Okay, whew, thank you.
Angie, thank you so much for rounding out our evening of presentations with some like hard data points. I love that. Give it up for Angie. And please welcome Melissa and Zeynep and Evan and Shawn, and I know that I'm missing people. Lee, come on up. Where else? Oh, Jasmin, come on up. I've now made a commitment to name everybody. Shawn, do you want to come up too? Okay, yeah, that's great. Go ahead and take a seat. I've created this cool little tier situation. Come on up. Beautiful. Take a seat. Any seat. You can take a stool. You can take a seat. What am I missing? Ah, Shawn, come on up. No, not in the slightest. Wonderful. Here, do you want to take a seat up front? No, these two microphones are going to float around between all of you. Ooh. I'm going to make sure that this mic is on. Everybody hear me okay? Nice. Go ahead, if anybody has filled out or has a question that we didn't collect, go ahead and raise that up, and Claire or Jennifer will come and grab it. And I have some questions. I think we have maybe like 30 minutes. I'm going to double check. Aha, yes, perfect. Like 20 minutes. So I'd like to start with where Angie left off, which is the why. We heard a lot tonight about the how and the what and the challenges and the opportunities. But I'd like to hear from you all, if you are willing to share, why did you start the business, buy the business, open the business, get into ownership, right, as you've come up the employment ladder? To the extent that you're comfortable sharing with the group, I want to hear that reason why you do what you do, or the story that motivated you to take the plunge.
Since I'm holding the mic, shall I go for it? Okay, so for me, I think there was a family before us running Turkish Delight, and when they wanted to get out of business, my brother and I thought that it would be a loss if we didn't have any Turkish food available in town. Not just Turkish, but like we don't have any Lebanese or Persian. So that sort of profile of food from the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle East kind of lacks here. So we really didn't want that to happen. And it was a challenge that was sort of weirdly well timed for me because the university was going through some serious budgetary challenges. And I was the chair of the sociology department, and they were leading the sociology department. So even though I had job security, I felt sad about what we were losing there. And it just felt like I wasn't young enough to kind of keep pushing against the tide. I just kind of felt like I've did my best. I've done everything I wanted to do as a professor. Maybe this is a sign from the universe to take up a new challenge and try something different. And with enough cajoling from my ever persistent brother, we ended up doing it. So, of course, instead of sitting in front of a computer for 10 hours, now I'm standing and running around for 10 hours at this age. I don't know if that was the best decision, but here we are.
I'm holding the mic, so I'm going to talk about my experience owning my own business, and it was a combination of opportunity and necessity. I was raising my son on my own, and I wanted the flexibility that I thought would come from owning my own company. It turns out he was really good at shredding paper, which was excellent. And so we see that trend of what is driving people, and it is always an individual story, as individual as the people. Sometimes it's because you have a skill, sometimes it's because you want the freedom of not working for someone else. My driving underlying reason was I wanted to be a good employer. I had worked for some horrible bosses. I mean, the kind of boss that would make a TV comedy show. I hope I achieved that. And so maybe my couple hundred employees that remained with me would remember. And so I'll pass this on if anybody else.
Lee, go ahead and go next. Perfect.
Okay. So I was sitting in my office one day next to our founder and president, Mark Staples, and he turned and looked at me in 2019 and said, "So I'm moving to Texas." So I tell people, so I used to be the president of our trade association for a long time, and the way I present the brewing industry is that it's an island for misfit toys. There are a lot of people who work in that industry of all different walks of life, of all different economic situations, all different color cultures, everything like that, because we have a restaurant, we have a brewery, and they all need a place to be. And we hire people who have very little experience in the professional world, very little economic opportunity, and we teach them a job, and we give them a place that's fun to work because there's alcohol, but also because we're fun people. And we tried to just build a community that is positive for our neighbors and for our customers. And so that's why I did it. I did it because as much as I will knock on the insanity, I like the word flow thing, by the way, because that was like, oh, that looks like mental illness. This is exhilarating and depressing. It's like, yep, that's every emotion I feel before 9. But that's important for local business owners. Like, if you ever go on Indeed and you look at the qualifications you need to hire or businesses put out there, it's so just damning to most people who just want a job, just want to produce. So that's why I did it. And I just love the company I work for, and I wanted to keep it going.
That's beautiful. Does anybody else want to share their why, their origin story?
Can I share mine? Yeah, I wanted to share mine. So it's my 2 daughters over there. I know you were saying that you don't have the flexibility, but it provides a lot of flexibility for us in our life. And we've seen the outsized returns. So our business has grown 70% last year. We're hoping for another 70% next year. It's not something that I could do in a regular job. It's worth it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of struggle, but it's worth it.
All right, Turnagain Ceramics is pretty much 100% my business partner's fault. It was his idea. We were basically trying to bring a small slice of San Francisco. We both ended up living there. We were members at the same pottery studio in San Francisco. We were both back in Alaska at the same time. There was nothing like what we were accustomed to. So we decided, like, oh, how hard can this be? It was 2021 when we decided to make the leap, and we started out as 1,000 square foot studio, and we opened in May, right before our slow season, if y'all were listening. But it exploded right away, and we've grown every year. So what started as kind of this simple, naive, like, oh, how hard can it be? Like, let's just try to bring something that we'd like ourselves, has really blown up, and we've been so excited that we opened it.
So I have two different whys. When I got into business when I was younger, I think it was in my blood. I didn't really grow up seeing entrepreneurs in a sense of it being a big deal. Just with my family being from down south, there was always like the candy lady, this person, that person, and they all had a business. In my mind, it was just normal seeing black businesses every day. But then I realized, oh, this is historically because we couldn't go anywhere else. And so we made a community. So I grew up seeing that, and that just kind of fueled me in wanting to make sure I supported other options for generational wealth building and like showing our kids that like bad capitalism is bad, but if we do it the right way with the reason to give back and pay it forward, it can also be good in the right hands. And then I know my business has actually started in music, so people don't realize like there was the music industry like helping rappers and singers book gigs, and they said like when I went to college, they said I sounded proper, and so I'd call venues for them and pretend to be their manager and get them booked for gigs because I'm like, this new hot rapper coming out, you definitely want to get him, and then they give me 15% of whatever they earned at the door. So that was my backstory, which I got from my dad, who was a professional trumpet player for Bradford Marsalis. So it was just kind of in the family. But and then outside of that, with my kids, they are the reason I started Baby Van. My son specifically. I won't go into details because he's older now. But we just had a diaper problem at Fifth Avenue Mall, and I was like, if I leave right now with all these Christmas presents, I'm not going to come back. So I'm praying I can get these baby supplies somewhere. And then I was like, I'm going to do a vending machine. So that started off with them in mind and just traveling with little kids and knowing how hard that was.
That's so interesting to hear, like, the practical experience of being a human being operating in the world, realizing that there's an opportunity there for a business, or there's a void, right, that a space to be filled. That's really interesting. One of the themes of tonight has been the reality that running a business is a family affair. I've heard siblings, I've heard parents, I've heard kids, all in the mix. Hanging shower curtains at 12 years old, right? Yeah, cubicle curtains, exactly. I just watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and had shower curtains on the mind. So recognizing that running a business is a family affair, and so much of your reason for doing what you do is because of the values that were instilled or that you share. I want to hear more about what values did you inherit or share or pass along as somebody who's working in a business from your family, and how does that shape your approach to running the business?
I can go. So growing up, I think I initially got my idea of like kids can go everywhere from my mom. So like, she was a single mom and she didn't have childcare. So when I was little, she would pay me to write her notes for her in college. And so, because I had to go to class with her, and so I'd be like taking all her little notes for her, thinking it was fun and I'm making money, but it was actually how she kept me being good while I was in her class. And so just kind of seeing all of her side hustles with working and then also like doing business things and, estate planning on the side, I think instilled that part in me, and then just other people in my family. But I really believe, for me, entrepreneurship, I think it's really important that we make space for people to bring their kids and their families, because it's very easy to always say, this is for the kids, it's for the next generation. But if you have spaces where they can't come, or you're frustrated with their presence, or like, oh, that baby's loud, or these kind of things, it doesn't support a culture of saying it's okay for them to be there. They're not going to know if we don't bring them. So since my kids are little, I bring them like everywhere, and sometimes they acted up and I had to get them on stage and they'll be like, I'll be right back. But I had to like have that experience for them to be like, you're here for a reason. They're not going to know what we're trying to do and what's at stake if they're not included. And I think that's why I love our space, because we tell people, if we're consulting you, if we have an event, if you need a workspace, we actually have an on-site family room with the soft floor. You can put the baby in the pack and play. We have someone who's there to just be with the kids so they don't feel like they have to choose. And I think if like entrepreneurs and employers looked kind of more into the importance of that, I think we'd have a lot more intergenerational opportunities for kids and like the next generation if they saw themselves included and it wasn't a system where you have to pick. So we try to make sure whatever we do, we tell them they can come. If we got to carry the baby for you, we'll hold the baby. If he got to be disciplined, he's got like 17 aunties, and we'll tell them we don't do that here. You know, so we've had all those scenarios. And you've been in our space, so you're like, just bring the kids. Like, we don't care, you know. And we just kind of, so it's just, I want it to become something that's natural.
I'm going to speak to, on behalf of the SBDC, what we see that makes people successful are the qualities of willingness to dig in, do the work. And sometimes, I think Melissa talked about that, being vulnerable. Asking somebody for money is probably the most vulnerable that you can be, even if it's family. And especially if it is a lender that has all the power and is judging whether your idea or your plan is worth the risk. Doing the work, doing the hard work, and being humble and learning, constantly learning. And I had great examples in my parents who took a big gamble and it paid off, but they had to bootstrap it. That's back in the 70s, and my sister and I grew up in the lodge business. I am the best toilet bowl cleaner you will ever find, and also learned how to do the books and payroll. So there's a lot there, and I attribute all my successes to that child upbringing.
My father just retired at 76 last year and ran his own small business for over 30 years. And so what I would say in this statement, I'm glad my wife's not here because she would throw a beer at my face. Energy is not a bank account. There is not whatever it is, a limited amount of it. Every morning you get up, you have to make the decision to pour everything you have into what you're doing. And you have to wake up again the next day and do that, and every day, forever. And I think it's amazing because my wife is absolutely convinced that she, like a cat, must sleep for 12 to 16 hours in order to operate. And I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" But that's what my father taught me. You don't quit. You don't give up. You just keep doing it. And you find a solution to it. I'm a Marine raised by a Marine, so we fight through the ambush. We fight through everything, you may think you're tired, but you have to dig, and you've got to find that energy because no one will give it to you.
This is a little loose in terms of family, but I'd say one of the family-centric aspects of Turnagain Ceramics is people are escaping their family to come to the pottery studio, which I think is important. And like, that's good for their families. It's good for them. You kind of have this unique combination of this great solitary time, but you're surrounded by other people. So you're also socializing at the same time. You come home, you're more excited to see your family than ever before. So just being in a business where people are in that state of mind in a very physical way has been, and that was kind of my experience, but doing pottery as a hobbyist, like 20-year-old dude, so like not escaping my family. So I think that was a really rewarding aspect of just like the healthy living aspect of pottery.
I was just going to share that my growing up with my my parents, they both had their own gardens, even in the city. They were born in South Carolina, but they moved up to Pennsylvania, and they both had their own gardens. My mom would have like her roses, or her certain things, and my dad would have his collard greens and peppers and things. But I learned from both just watching, and that's where I gained my values by just, you know, um, learning how to prepare a simple meal from fresh ingredients. And, as in Alaska, it's hard to get fresh produce here, so that's really difficult for me to be able to do what I love uh, and put something on the plate when everything has to be shipped up here. But I learned by watching them, and my mom always was a giving woman. She used to send us to people's homes. Take this plate down to Sister Martin. Take this plate. I'm like, okay. So, but I think that's where I learned how to just be kind and be humble and to give back and put the love in your food and what you do and just be kind, because we need that in this world today. So,
Yeah.
I guess it's interesting to me that so many of you are sharing that you come from entrepreneurial families. Mine was the opposite. In fact, being an entrepreneur means you have to be open to taking a risk and sometimes losing big as well. I come from the opposite, which is that, hey, get a government job and it may be very little money, but it's going to come, every first of the month sort of a situation. So I actually had zero interest in owning a business, but I did grow up in a military family, and pretty much everything I hate about my dad that annoyed me as a teenager, I realize now I have them all. And I think that's partly why I do okay in this business despite the fear of risk. Super hardworking, never giving up, always shooting for like some, perfectionist way of approaching the day, trying to know and do every part of your work, right? So every day I clean the toilet bowl. Every day I wipe the counters, I cook, I wash dishes, I do purchasing, I do social media. And part of me wants to know all of those things so that when staff are, talking behind each other's back, oh, these servers have it easy. If they were in the inferno 500-degree grill, we'll see if they can manage this job. I get to tell them, no, actually you are incorrect. What they're doing is extremely hard because I did it and I got a review that said, boy, that woman is a clueless waitress. So, although even though I know the most about that business, but that was the comment I got. So I do know for a fact that every aspect of our job is extremely hard to do really well on a consistent basis. So I guess I did get some stuff from my dad, regardless of not wanting it. So.
We only have a few minutes left, so I'd love to hear if anybody else has reflections or thoughts on that question.
Okay, I wanted to say, so growing up, my family, they had a small business, so I was raised around small business. I knew the hard work, but it was like how Jasmin was saying, it didn't feel welcoming to children. I'm hoping that I'm changing that for the next generation and my daughters, that they know that they're incorporated into the business dealings, that they're not a side part of it, they're a actual practical part of it in every day.
That's beautiful because our last question, and I'm trying to think of like the way to frame this as a speed round, but I don't know if we're going to be able to manage it. Okay, our last question, because this is City Nerd Night and it is hosted by your local government and the Anchorage Assembly, the legislative branch, is around, I want to kind of drill into this theme that we heard from many of the presenters, which is that labor is challenging. And I want to think about what is maybe the challenge, or what is maybe one part of that labor challenge where government plays a role in a solution. So honestly, like where my mind goes based on this conversation in part is partially childcare, right? Recognizing that childcare is a challenge. But I'm hearing that because of that challenge, small businesses are innovating and making more inclusive spaces. So I don't know that that's actually the answer. That was just like when I walked into this event today, I was like, I bet we're going to talk about childcare. So I want to hear from you. What is a challenge of hiring people, right, and recruiting people, retaining people for your small business where government plays a role in that? To the extent that it's a speed round, could it be a word with a sentence, follow along description? I don't know. We'll see.
For the love of God, continue funding education.
I'm gonna do. I ran for state office last year, which is wild, and I really ran on paid maternity leave. So that's something that we instituted at our company. I think if Alaska was the first state union to offer 12 months of paid and legitimate paid maternity leave, I bet people would love having kids here, and that would really solve a lot of daycare issues. And I think that is really the biggest thing. So.
I would say quickly that the recent attention to immigrant workers is something that really breaks my heart, because in the hospitality industry and the food sector, we always need people. In fact, most of the time during summer, during busy touristic seasons, you're probably hearing a lot of different accents because they're all J1 students and young people who come to work for 3-6 months. And they want to stay and continue to work. They don't party, they don't drink, they don't smoke. All they want to do is show up to work and get some money to their parents and establish a life for themselves. And I don't quite understand scaring them so much so that they feel like even when they have work permits, that they feel like they are under attack. That's something that we definitely feel at the restaurant. I have a lot of workers who have active court cases, and everybody's scared. If somebody in a uniform walks in, we're like, are you a customer? Why are you here? And it breaks my heart to see these kids super, super scared, feeling super unsettled. And then the turnover, I would say, is another thing, because I'm the restaurant mom. I'm older than all of their mothers combined, I think. So I have like 8 young boys now. And, they come into your life and then they disappear like a drop of a hat for whatever reasons. And that's actually hard for me, I have to say. Like, I see them a lot more than I see my husband. So I do miss them when they disappear. So I hope that we can find a way to actually appreciate the people who are really willing to do the hard work and want to stay here. Thank you.
Feel free to pass mics around. Yep, perfect.
One more. The biggest thing the municipality of Anchorage can do is support healthcare, because I know that the biggest issue for me to hire employees when I had my business, and we did a in-home care provider agency. So at one point we had 170 caregivers that were essential to help people age in place. If I hadn't been able to provide the health insurance for people, we wouldn't have been able to keep half of them, because that was so important, because we paid a higher wage, and so a lot of them, it took them out of a certain pay range. So that is essential. Today, I'm working for the SBDC because I get health insurance. I mean, that is, I love my job and I love what I do, but that is my underlying reason.
Can I just say the housing crisis? We've lost a couple of people who had to move out of state because housing was too expensive here, or they had to move to a different employer because they had a crisis in their living situation.
Totally huge. I mean, where you live as a community, where you live matters, right? And it's important to the health of our community that people have places to live, totally. Well, we had other questions that we could have spent some time answering as well. All in all, tonight has just been awesome. Thank you each for participating, for sharing your knowledge and your perspectives and your expertise. And thank you for doing the work that you do in Anchorage. I'm so proud to live here and in this community where you all are doing what you do. And to get to consume it and buy from you and do all that is just fantastic. So thank you very much. Thank you all for coming to City Nerd Night. Have a great night.